She's a fashion blogger, model, and entrepreneur.
She's amazing.
The latest tips on fashion, beauty, wellness, travel, and her lifestyle. And now, here's the founder and creator of Not Basic Blonde, Olasha.
Hi, Jay. Welcome to Not Basic Blonde podcast. How are you today?
Great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you so much for being my guest. And
No problem.
you started from scratch to become a multimillionaire. What role do your beginnings play in your everyday decisions now?
I think the main characteristic for a person who's come from nothing is just the grit and hard work. So if you to get there, to become, I guess, or to reach your goals, you have to actually, have that built into you, which is hard work. You need to be studious. The funny thing is, I was never a book smart person. I was always just, I wanted to make money. And obviously everybody knows school doesn't teach you how to make money. So in the end, I wanted to always get my hands dirty to really get on the street or to get jobs, to make money, essentially. And so I think the most important thing that plays from the beginnings to now is just hard work. So I work even harder now because I've been there. I've had nothing. And now that I have something, I'm going to even work harder to build it even to a greater success.
And that's incredible. Were you born in US or you came here when you were little?
Yeah, I was actually born on a wooden table in a farm in China. So I came here when I was 1 year old. So essentially I'm from here. Like, I don't remember China or the farm at all. My parents immigrated here when I was 1. So essentially I'm a native New Yorker.
And that's amazing. What helped you the most? In which area did you actually grow your wealth? Was it crypto or real estate?
Mm-hmm.
How did it happen?
Yeah. No, I'm not in crypto and I'm not in real estate. But what helped me kind of figure out my way was just Wall Street. I used to work at a bank and I used to see these big trades and I used to see how these big companies were making money. And it fascinated me. Even though I worked for Wall Street, I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know how to build public companies. I didn't know how to invest. I just sat behind a desk making money. So I think the biggest thing for me was to learning the real Wall Street, right? Learning how companies are built pre-IPO, like Snapchat or Facebook or Twitter, how they're built pre-IPO, and then how they actually go IPO, and then the exit strategy would be obviously for investors to make money on that exit. That's why there's a lot of Silicon Valley firms that they come in and they invest all this venture capital money into these hot deals that eventually one day they think is going to be a great public company. So my wealth and my knowledge is built around capital markets, which is essentially Wall Street, but also the venture capital and private equity that is built around that leads up to that too. So I love to build companies, I like to scale them, and then ultimately, build them for Wall Street one day.
Wow, that's very fascinating. And how did you get into this? How did you start? What was your motivation? Like, what inspired you?
What inspired me was just the whole meltdown in 2008. All the big banks were getting destroyed, and all these stocks and everything were so cheap. And I saw these companies rise from the ashes, and that's what kind of triggered it. It's just how these companies rebounded, and I was able to invest in a bunch of them. And from there, I just saw that, look, in order to build wealth, you have to put your time into it. You actually have to spend years and years growing these companies. You got to travel for them. You got to write your own checks. You have to bring in the right people, network, and you have to really understand each of these businesses in there and how to actually scale them. So that's the key thing here is scaling companies, and that's how I learned. It's just writing checks from the beginning and investing in these companies early on.
Very interesting. And you also have companies of your own. Which companies do you have?
Well, I have my main company, which is a private equity venture fund that it's pretty much my own personal wealth that I come in and I invest into different sectors that I think will be red hot for the next 5 to 10 years. So I try to be a visionary where I think this market is going a certain way. Like for example, I have a new startup that is doing extremely well. It's called Fluber, which is kind of the same business model of these ride sharing or on demand on your app, where you can actually book a private jet or go private travel through an app. So my thesis there was, people don't want to fly with 300 people on a commercial airline. If they're able to, at a good price, get into private and travel through private, and which is a less hassle with the TSA, then there's a market there, and we're creating that kind of technology for it where people are accessible to this private travel. So that's my thesis for that. And that's how I invest where I think the next 5 to 10 years is going to be a hot sector. So that's one of my latest investments and one of the companies I'm growing.
That's a very interesting idea and concept behind it. And I know since you're in this industry, many people think that flying private is very expensive and it's totally impossible. But I know there are also, like you explained, apps and other things that it makes sense to sometimes even fly private. What an average price to go private? I mean, to take a trip in private jet from main cities.
It varies. It varies on obviously the actual jet. There's different sizes. There's light jets, mid-tier, and then heavy. The heavy ones are usually like the G4s that are the luxurious ones that have 10 to 12 seats. And then there's the mid-tiers, which is like the Challengers, where they have about 8 seats. And then the light jets are usually about 6 seats. So it depends. So if you're going from, let's say, New York to Miami, you tend to probably want to fly in a mid to heavy, just because you get there at a good time. Now, if you fly on a light jet, which you can, which is cheaper, it could be, let's just say, the price of a light could be between 15 to 20,000 US, and then 20 to about 28,000 could be a mid-tier, and then the heavy jets sometimes could be 25,000 or 50,000, just depending on the level of jet you want and the model and how pimped out it is, essentially. But it's just timing wise for people, right? It's just if you want to get there in 2.5 hours versus on a lighter jet, it might take you 3.5, or a little less than 4 hours. So it's just depending on the timing you want to go. And obviously, we're lighter jets, you might feel a bit more turbulence, and some people hate that, right? They just get scared. But once you're up in the air, it depends on the flow of the wind, but it could be really rough and turbulent, or it could just be calm and smooth. It just all depends on the weather.
I'm always afraid of lighter jets.
What you said?
I'm always
fighter jets?
Lighter.
Oh, lighter. Oh, the lighter jets. Yeah. No. Yeah. Lighter jets are, look, it's the way we're programmed. We used to go on these huge commercial airlines that have 3, the jumbo ones, right? That have, hundreds of seats. So it feels heavy, you feel sturdy. But when you're on the lighter one, yeah, you just have to get used to it.
You just feel a lot. shaken sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, you naturally you just feel like, oh my God, I'm in something that's so delicate that could just like break apart. But in reality, it's actually safer because you can actually maneuver better, right? So you can actually land in emergency places faster because these jumbo jets, you can't just decide to turn somewhere and land. You have to actually go to a big airport or something. But these lighter ones, you can actually, land in many more places. So you got to think about that too, right?
Now you made me feel better about it.
Yeah.
And you've invested all over the world. How different are the rules of investing in other countries compared to US?
Yeah. So, for example, I recently started making some investments in Singapore, and I actually did a video about this too. That investing elsewhere sometimes is totally different because I'm just used to the American, like Canada and US, and it's pretty similar because we're all in the North America. But once you get out, like in Asia, it's totally different. They want even more information from you. So in order for you to invest, you have to like do lots of kind of KYC, or they have to make sure you're the person that you are. In the US and Canada, I mean, obviously they go through checking your information, but not as broad and crazy as like Singapore, because Singapore is a very heavy on processes and heavy on making sure you're fully aware of things and how much shares and equity and et cetera. So it's totally different in Asia. I feel like in the US, it's much, I'm not going to say easier. It's just much more streamlined. Over there, it's like lots of hurdles. You got to present like your bills, your phone bills, like it's a tremendous amount of work to just invest, I feel like.
Wow, it does seems like a lot. It feels like in US and Canada there would be way more restrictions and rules, but actually
no, it's actually, it's much easier because people here always invest into companies, because everybody wants to get into the next pre-IPO or the next, startup that could one day become, like a Facebook or Twitter or Snapchat. So yeah, a lot of people are willing to write checks more, I feel like, to get into the game or get into owning some of these startups.
Interesting. And have you ever had any losses in your successful career, and how did you deal with it?
Yeah, tons of losses, tons. And that's how you learn, right? So I have a saying that actually it's not my saying, but I read it somewhere where if you lose, you don't lose the lesson. So every time I lose on a deal or in the past, I've always learned not to repeat that. Sometimes I do mistakes too, like everyone else, but it's a learning process. It's like sometimes you invest and the person or the company or the CEO or the founder tells you something and then they don't execute on it. They actually look at you as an exit strategy already, which is horrible because when you invest, you want to make money in the company eventually, not lose it. But there's some CEOs and companies out there that, I've invested in, and a lot of times they don't execute. They don't come through what they say, and then you end up losing because they get lazy, right? They don't have the same work ethic as I would, or they don't have the same type of principles, right? They just care that, oh, look, I raise a bunch of money, I'm going to try my best, and you know what? I try my best. So sorry to you, but it kind of sucks because, that's a lesson learned for me that I won't ever invest into these type of companies with CEOs or founders like that. But you can't tell, they could change like midway, right? Like, how can you ever tell? Like, someone could be put on a face and say, yeah, I'm going to crush it for you. I'm going to make you tons of money. Just trust me, just invest. And they're passionate, but then in 6 months, let's say they get some grant from somewhere else or some funding, and then they're like, what, I'm just tired. I don't want to do this. I'm getting a nice paycheck. I'm just gonna take my time. And then the shareholders like myself will suffer for that because they're not as hungry to make it successful.
Yeah, very interesting. And also, I've met so many successful entrepreneurs, and always their answer was that you don't learn, I mean, unless you lose. And like, it's always
Hmm.
learn a lesson from losses, and it actually makes you grow. So,
Yeah, so I have a lot of losses. Even when I made my first amount of money, like large amount, I ended up putting that back into a company that totally conned me, you know? So, but I rather that happen to me then, and I learned from that than now, right? So, it hurt a lot, but it also made me who I am today. And it makes me even hungrier that watch, you want to fuck me later on, I'm going to become someone and you're going to be begging to hand me back my money and then some.
yeah. What helped you internally to go through this and kind of like get over this?
Uh, just the faith I had in myself, right? Like, again, it goes back to the beginning. Like, because I didn't have much, I look at it as, okay, if I didn't have much, then I could deal with it. I've been through worse scenarios in my life where I had zero in the bank. So having more than zero was enough for me, right? And so confidence in myself, and obviously just knowing that if I work harder, I'm going to make more money in the future because I'm going to work harder than anybody around me, right? And that's how I look at it. Just as long as you're going to work hard and you know exactly what you want to do later, then that's the most important thing. Just confidence and faith in yourself.
And also, so many people working hard, but they're not getting anywhere. It's like working harder.
Mhm.
I mean, working smarter, not harder,
Mhm.
because some people just work really, really hard and still don't get any results. But you actually have to look at I mean, being busy and being productive are totally different things. So,
Sure.
yeah.
I think to that point is risk, like how much are you willing to risk? Obviously you don't want to risk where you go bankrupt or you can't pay your rent or you can't put food on the table. But I think in the end you have to risk, in order to make money, So like people always say, you got to use money to make money, or you can't ever know if you're gonna make it. But like you said, people work hard, but they're not risking. They're just working hard for a paycheck. They're not actually writing a check and saying, okay, I'm going to take this journey with you and take this risk. And they also don't put the work into it. So they could be a passive investor and just say, okay, here, let me write you a check. I'm gonna just walk away and make sure you make me lots of money. But in the end, let's just say you write a check and you actually help the company to grow. And then you work out an agreement with the company. You go, look, if I'm able to help you grow it, I want to make more. I want more equity. I want more, I want a consulting agreement. So people fail to realize that, you could strike deals too, like one-on-one with companies besides just being an investor.
Yeah. Do you believe in crypto? Do you invest in crypto? Do you think it's makes sense?
I do. I've been approached by tons of NFT guys for me to push out their NFTs. But one thing a lot of people don't understand is like, I'm not on social media to make money. Like, so people are like, why don't you write books, or why don't you, do some subscription agreement? Why don't I don't care about that. I'm just here to educate people from my heart because I've been from zero. So I'm not here to make money from people. So when they offer me all these NFTs, I've been very, I'm not in a rush to like back anybody. But in terms of the crypto, like the NFT stuff, I see the value in certain things. Like, for example, like real estate, like going back to real estate, if you can NFT certain like your deeds and things that could be put on the blockchain that is relevant, that could be for title insurance or something, that makes sense to me. But all this artwork, this and that, it's kind of, to me, I'm not gonna say it's fluff, but it's not as exciting as actual value of real estate, like putting a deed or title in a blockchain. That's worth it to me, right? And that's a company actually that my friend is also wanting me to invest in too, something in that space. So crypto, yeah, maybe that. Also, I have a big funny crypto stories. My friend in Manhattan had the first meetup for Bitcoin. This was, I don't know, when Bitcoin was 20 cents or something, like 20 to 30 cents. He invited me to the meeting, and I went, and I saw all these little geeky nerds and weird people, and not weird people, but just, just people with like those conspiracy theories and tech geeks, and they were so driven by Bitcoin. And I just thought this was a Ponzi scheme. I said, this is so stupid. And he would say to me, you lose $10,000 like nothing on an investment or in the stock market. Why don't you just put 10 grand into Bitcoin at like 20 cents or 30 cents? And then I said, no, I don't believe in it. This sounds so stupid. Whatever. I listened to you, but I'm gone. And then had I done that, I mean, it would have been worth, I think, like $2 billion at the height, potentially. So again, I had chances. I just didn't listen, and I didn't put enough time into it. And I was just focused on what I wanted to build. But yeah, that's one thing I regret, is not putting $10,000 at 20 cents or 30 cents. It was between 20 or 30 cents. I remember clearly. So that's my story for the crypto. And I never chased it. I never chased Bitcoin. However, I did own some, Bitcoin ATMs. So I got into that for a little bit, but again, it wasn't for me. So I sold them off. And yeah, ever since then, I've never really invested into crypto besides like stocks, right? Like there's certain stocks that are crypto focused. I might have invested into those, but nothing with just crypto itself.
I see. What a great story.
Yeah.
And
that'll be a good kind of frame. Loser didn't put 10,000 in at 20 cents into Bitcoin. Yeah.
How can we invest like wealthy people for beginners?
How to invest? Yeah, how to invest like wealthy people. Yeah. So I did another video on how to invest like the rich, and that actually I think went pretty viral. It even went viral on TikTok as well. So because a lot of people just don't have access or knowledge to this stuff, and I'm here to educate people and give them knowledge just to the everyday person. So one way to invest, I mentioned in my video, is a lot of the rich, they invest through brokers or through pre-IPO companies, secondary markets, right? So you could come in and buy the shares from the actual company employees. So these company employees, for example, at like Airbnb, they've worked, let's say, 5-7 years, maybe building this company, and they have all this equity, but they don't have any liquidity because they didn't go public yet. And they're still getting paid a good salary, but nothing in the millions, right? So all these employees are rich in equity, but they don't have liquidity. And a lot of these funds or these limited partnerships or some of these pre-IPO companies that specialize in this, you go to them and you open an account and you say, I want to buy SpaceX. Do you have it? But you have to go out your way to find these companies. Or what happens is some of these brokers, they actually have a portfolio. They said, we're selling you Palantir, we're selling you Airbnb, we're selling you Snapchat, so you can actually pick from a bunch of these startups that will eventually go public, but you just don't know when. So you're gonna have to hold on for like at least 5 years. Or more sometimes. Sometimes it's faster. Maybe you get lucky, you get in just before it goes public, but you're stuck in there until there's a liquidity event. And obviously you're buying these shares from shareholders and company and current company employees at a discounted rate, besides them going public, right? So you just have to ride the wave. So that's a way how the rich invest, right? Like if you got into, Airbnb at, for example, a 5 billion valuation or 8 billion valuation, when they were doing this type of fundraising from the employees, well, Airbnb is now over 100 billion, right? So you do the math. Now you're making 20x. You're making, 1,000% your money. So you will never make that with real estate. You will never make that in any asset class besides equities and going public. I mean, unless you get lucky and you actually hit an oil well or something. But the best way to generate wealth is investing. But again, you don't have control over that. So you're believing in that company for the future.
Very interesting. Yeah, so many people are afraid to invest because they're not educated enough in this field. So I'm glad you actually share your wisdom. Yeah.
Yes. And again, I'm from nothing. I'm an average Joe. I'm a kid from the streets of New York City. So I know exactly what everybody feels like because I've been there. And I haven't been there that long ago too. So it's still fresh in my head, right?
How can we keep our emotions from clouding our judgment while investing in anything?
I think emotions and, like you said, judgment. Obviously, like an example would be like if you're investing into like a military tech or weapons company, for example, like you are able to get in a very cheap round. Wait, hold on. Someone called me. So we'll edit that. So one thing, I'll repeat that. So one thing that, one example for emotional and judgment investment would be, let's just say you invest in a military tech company or a weapons company, and you know that those weapons can actually hurt people, right? And even kill people. Now, you'll be able to make lots of money in it, but that's something more of a, I guess, ethical question, right? So there's emotions, there's judgments in that, but in the end, is making money worth that? Can you sleep at night? And then that's just one example of that, of the emotional and judgment side and the principle side. Now, the other one for the emotional side is you want to invest in things that you believe in too, right? Like that you're passionate about. You don't want to just throw your money away and hope for the best. Like if you know nothing about, for example, a lot of uranium stocks recently have been going up because of the green energy movement and also the war happening, right, in Ukraine and Russia. So, in that situation, you don't know enough about uranium sometimes. You just like reading some articles or some information and doing that is not good enough for to just invest because you know nothing about it. So you're not passionate about it,
Such a great point. Yeah. Should a young aspiring entrepreneur choose to go to college instead of investing time and money in their ideas?
Wait, say that again.
Should young entrepreneurs go to college instead of investing time and money in their ideas and become entrepreneurs?
Yes. I think I mentioned this briefly before too. It's case by case. So, the richest people in the world, never went to college or they're college dropouts. So, but are they not smart? No, they're brilliant people. It's just, it's about opportunity costs, I feel like. So if you need to spend 4 years to complete college or 4 years in building a company that you think is going somewhere and you're so passionate about, then it just depends like how dynamic you are with being involved in this, right? Wait, hold on. There was someone calling me. Okay, I'll re-answer that again. I'll re-answer that. I was kind of half done with it, but no, let me re-answer that. You could cut that part, and then I can't hear you.
Oh,
You're on mute.
now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think I was good at the first part, but someone was trying to wave my attention right now. So
Okay.
I'll just continue from there. I'll just say, it's case by case. In the end, it's about who you are and how passionate you are about your startup or your business or this idea you have. And you have to see if the opportunity cost is you growing a company in 4 years to millions of dollars, or you finishing school and getting that diploma. Because there's also different factors, like family factors. Like, for example, I finished college, but I didn't really want to. I just wanted to make money. But I'm actually happy I finished because it was really more for my parents. Because my parents immigrated from China, and I felt like it'll be a disservice to them if I didn't even get my bachelor's degree. I would feel like horrible that they sacrifice their lives and everything for their kids, and then you come here and you don't even give them, that. So it was really more for my parents that I got the degree than it was for me, because I knew I was going to work hard and I was going to bust my ass and do whatever it takes to become successful. But I still worked at the same time. So I worked full time and I went to school full time.
I did too. And I kind of did it for my parents too, because I came to US when I was 17. So I had to quit college in Ukraine and come here. And my parents were like, well, you had to finish school. You have to go to school. I kind of did it for them. And I wish also.
Oh, so we're in the same situation.
Yeah. But also I spent almost 9 years in project management and IT project management. So I did even work.
IT. I never put you on IT, by the way.
I know I don't look like IT girl.
I mean, you can. I don't ever judge people, but just from seeing your personality, your closet, like all of that stuff, I never put you as an IT person.
Yeah, so that wasn't even my passion in life. I did it because I was.
There you go. There you go. And now you found your passion, which is great.
Yeah. Yeah, but I did it mostly for my parents. And then in 2017, I finally decided to just build my own brand.
Amazing. And it was reversed with me. I always was kind of quiet behind the scenes in investing and just, but a lot of people in my circle, my friends or like people, like companies I've invested in, they all knew who I was. I just never kind of came to the front until, I guess, the recent few years. And I think now that I've kind of come out, people are like gravitating towards me because this is what I've been doing for many years. And now I'm just more of a public figure about it.
That's amazing. And do you offer coaching calls, like, or one-on-one coaching, or do you have any online?
No, you see, that's that's the issue again. Yeah, not exactly. Like I know I could build millionaires because I've been there, so I know how to build millionaires, right? But they also have to be the right person, and they have the right outlook in life. They have the right energy. But yeah, I have that wealth of knowledge, and that's why I'm here. I'm here to create content and to educate people, and that's why I launched 2 shows recently. One is the Capital Markets Show with me, and that's more like what I mentioned, pre-IPO companies who are going to eventually list on Wall Street. And it's a great name because that's the capital markets, Wall Street. And there's tons of these companies I know already, so it's going to be easy for me to actually interview these companies, and maybe I'll invest in some of them too that I like. And then my second show, the Lion of Wall Street, which is again just me. It's just like a Shark Tank type of show. Like people come to me and And if I want to invest, then I'll invest. So I'm going to create this kind of Shark Tank feel to the show. And maybe you could even recommend some people, or maybe if you have a startup,
I
you
have.
come, you come to New York, to Times Square, to my office, and you pitch me, and maybe I'll invest. Maybe this lion right here will come at you and eat you.
And where can we find your shows? Which channels and where we can find you?
Yeah, I mean, it's again, me. My brand is across all the social media, which is the Lion of NYC. People look me up, which is JU, and 5 letters, easy, right? JYYU. Nothing hard about it. And then my shows again are just the Capital Markets Show and the Lion of NYC show. Very simple. Everything crosses over. Everything's easy.
That's amazing. Thank you so much, Jay, for being my guest.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.